Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sustainable Innovation for Interiors. I'm Sylvia from D4Design, interior design and content creation studio with a focus on biophilic design and sustainability in the interior design industry. In this series, we are meeting emerging designers that are developing new and innovative solutions for interiors to make them more sustainable. And today, we are meeting designer and material researcher Carissa Tenteye from Studio CTT. So let's welcome Carissa.
Hello.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. Thanks for accepting my invite. All right. I would say to start real quick with a little introduction about you as a designer and how you chose to put sustainability at the heart of what you do.
For me, sustainability is about balance and trying to find my way within personal life as well as business life, and also within my own projects. And the way I do that is either through material research, so trying to find waste material or byproducts and find new appliances for that, or through production methods and trying to focus on how something is produced. Can it either be produced more efficiently, more sustainable, or maybe a multifunctional production method? So that's how I try to approach all my projects.
Yeah. And on a more general note, since, this is a question that I always like to ask because sustainability is such a wide topic. So in general, what does the word sustainability mean to you in particular?
I feel like sustainability has become a bit of a heavy word because it's of such importance now that the weight of the word actually makes it a more difficult topic than it actually is. Like I said, I feel like sustainability is about balance and making choices based on knowing what those choices will reflect.
Yeah.
And so yeah, basically trying to find your balance. I like to use the Sustainable Development Goals as kind of a guideline, so definitely recommend to check those out because it gives a much broader sense of what sustainability
of the topic. Yeah, true. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. All right, so now I think we can go into your project, Bottom Ash, which is a research about the potential actually of a very uncommon material, which is bottom ash, which is the waste that comes out of waste incineration, which is such a cool material. So maybe you can walk us through the project a little bit, how it came to be and how it works.
Yeah, of course. For me, it actually started with the question, what happens to our waste? I had no idea what bottom ash was, but through researching what actually happens to our waste, so not just accepting that it's being picked up, it either goes to a landfill or to a waste to energy plant, but what is the whole process at each and every step?
Yeah.
And it kind of ended at bottom ash. And my question there was, but what happens with the bottom ash? And then we realized that there wasn't really a suitable appliance that reflects the worth of bottom ash, the value of the material, because it has so much potential. And it wasn't really used according to that potential. So that was kind of the starting point to see, okay, how can we, I guess, kind of restore the value of bottom ash?
Yeah. And so then from there, you kind of experimented with the material, and then I saw you came up with both kind of finishing materials and furniture, right?
Yeah. So I guess you can say all the finishing materials were more material experiments, just trying and trial and error, see what comes out. And then the next step would be to find an application, because I feel having a material is one thing, but how to actually apply it is another thing. Yeah. And I really wanted to see how you could also, and also show how you can apply the material. So I designed a bench that shows really focuses on the aesthetic of the material, but also the construction values. So how strong it actually is and what you can do with it.
So, and that's made with, bottom ash, and then you mix it with a resin or something to make it a solid, strong material?
Yeah, so it's mixed with a cement-based binder.
Okay.
Which I'm not planning on continuing with because cement is not good for the environment at all. So it's compromising the sustainable aspect of the project completely. So we're actually looking into finding a binder made from bottom ash as well, so that it would actually produce 60% less carbon emission and would be a lot more sustainable than cement.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing. And so, yeah, maybe you have a little bit answered like this, but maybe we can rephrase it. So I was wondering when I saw your project, among the many waste streams that exist in our world, how you chose to work with bottom ash. So you said you did like a research, an extensive research of what happens to our waste, right?
Yeah, so we have, and I'm not sure if it's the same in every country, but in the Netherlands we have underground, and especially in cities we have underground bins, like provided by the municipality, where you can put your garbage, and then once a week or twice a week it's picked up. Yeah. And but as soon as you throw it away, you don't see it anymore. You're usually at work when it's being picked up, so you don't really see that often either. And I was just curious, like I'm a very curious person and I like to really understand how things work. I believe that if you really understand how things work, you know how to change it as well and to adapt it. True. And so I really wanted to understand this process because it is such an anonymous thing that happens every day, but we're not really aware of how it actually works. So that's where it started. It started from a interest, a curiosity.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And as you say, it's so true that it's really a kind of a mysterious process, because those bins are right in front of our eyes, but then what happens with what we throw in that is kind of not our business anymore, and it's not common to think about what happens next. And so, yeah, then finding a way to reuse your, what comes out of incineration, which is the very, very end of the waste stream, is really incredible. So that's incredible that it came from curiosity. So well done.
Thanks. And I guess it also kinds of proves like this is the waste of waste, like
exactly. So it's really very
yeah, if you can even reuse the waste of waste, then basically waste doesn't exist, because it's how you like from which perspective you choose to see it and choose to use it.
Yeah, so true. And before you came into this project, was bottom ash already reused in any way, or it's just left in the landfill and nothing happens to it?
So it is reused. The most common application is that it's wrapped in thick plastic and buried underneath our roads, but it's not necessarily as like a constructional thing, but more as a dump, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And there's another application where a specific part of the bottom ash is reused in the concrete industry. But because it's such a strange mix of different ingredients, there are also very light particles in it. So like plastic or wood that hasn't burned completely, which starts to float. And it gives an uneven surface, and it's not a very required aesthetic or thing within the concrete industry. So it's not used that much, actually. But there's also a really cool designer, Studio Mixtura Daria, who developed a bottom ash glaze. Okay. Which is really cool. So it's starting to get there.
Okay, so yeah, but anyways, it's something that before was definitely not reused for anything,
No, no. It was a very negative kind of taboo of waste being equal to less quality. So it wasn't used that much.
Yeah, that's incredible. It's really incredible. What I really like about sustainable design is really seeing people like you that take really unsuspected materials and come up with incredible things, which really changes the idea of what waste really is. So and really proves that waste is not existent, because if you are, provided that you are creative enough and you research, you can find an application for practically everything.
Yeah, I'm totally convinced by that.
Yeah, and this is the future. I'm so into it.
Yeah, nice.
Speaking about how you sourced your material, how did that happen? Because I imagine you like going into an incineration, your energy recovery plant, and say, "Hello, can I have your bottom ash?" It might have sounded a little strange.
Yeah, it took some convincing in the beginning. Also, because it wasn't very researched that much, people were a bit skeptic of what are you going to do with it, and also because it is considered a waste material, it's not supposed to like just
be given away.
Given away, exactly. So it also needed to be logged how much I would use and how much I would take. But it did start with just calling up a waste to energy plant and explaining my ideas. And a week later, I was getting a tour through the whole plant and looking through cameras into the incinerator, and it was amazing. It was really nice.
So overall, it was kind of a positive reaction. I mean, of course, a little skeptical at the beginning. It's fine, but overall kind of positive from the people that then gave you the raw material.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so I went to the waste to energy plant, but I also visited a company called Minerals, which is actually focusing on just bottom ash.
Okay.
And I also visited their plant, and they were also very enthusiastic and willing to work together. So from a lot of different directions, people, their attitude shifted, and it became a very, very nice collaboration with multiple companies.
Which is also great. Yeah, it's also great to see people like kind of endorse such a creative project, an unusual project like yours. Okay, so my next question would start from a quote from your website where you say, the mission of this project is changing the way we see a residue such as bottom ash, transforming it from waste to a potential material. So switching kind of mindset from waste to potential material is not something super obvious, especially for people that are not used to a circular mindset. So I was wondering, how was your project kind of welcomed from people around you, from your public? Was it difficult to switch the perspective from waste to resource, or was it easy enough? And now I'm not about the those that source the raw material, but in general, your even after the creation of those furniture pieces, etc.
The most common reaction is actually, wow, is this waste? Like, is this our waste material? So very basically how I started this project, very amazed by what our waste actually is, and to really understand it, the terrazzo material really helps because it shows exactly what we throw away and what materials are in it. And I think that's a very good tool to make that shift happen of changing the way we perceive materials and changing the value.
Yeah.
And so that it also really made a big difference, and also showing how beautiful waste can actually be, and not only showing the material but also an application. So the bench that I designed from the terrazzo was kind of a bridge between a material and an appliance to show this is how we can actually use it. So it's not just a material, it's something that we can, it has a function as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what's great about this kind of project is that then it can work the other way around. Once the bench is there, it can totally happen that someone sees the bench without knowing that that's waste. And then when you tell them, this comes from waste, then the amazing reaction comes out because you can tell it's waste.
Yeah, exactly. And that's actually exactly how it happens now, because when I would exhibit, I would show the bench and the material samples, and the bench it's the biggest thing there. So it's obviously the first thing you see. And then people are very, almost everyone knows terrazzo or has seen terrazzo before. So they immediately link it and say, hey, is this terrazzo? It's so beautiful. And then you talk about the project a bit more, and then you explain it's made from our own waste. And then this switch happens, this switch that I was aiming for, like trying to change the way we perceive waste material. That switch happens, and it's a very nice and interesting thing to see and to talk about.
Yeah, and that's also a very natural transition. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful way to engage also people that wouldn't necessarily be particularly interested in it or into it. It's really a natural transition.
Yeah.
Amazing as well. What do you want to ask? Okay, so Bottom Ash, of course, started as an experimental project to experiment and study the material. But are you planning anytime in the future to maybe put it into the market or make your production scalable or anything like that?
Yeah, so we're dealing with huge amounts of bottom ash, and we need to deal with that. So we are looking into producing standardized terrazzo tiles from bottom ash, so that we can start using the big amount of bottom ash that we have and isn't used, and also to show the beauty of it. So that's what we're working on now.
That's amazing. So I will put it in my projects for sure.
Nice.
Okay. Next question is again something that I like to ask everyone, because in this period, such a challenging period that we are living right now, since I'm a big believer that challenges also can bring opportunities, I always like to. I'm curious how COVID changed your plans, and if it brought some new opportunities or something that you didn't think about and you had the opportunity to work on due to COVID and lockdown and restrictions. Hello.
I think we live in a very fast society where everything goes really fast and we have to make fast decisions, and we have a very structured life. And COVID kind of put everything on pause, which might seem as a bad thing, but for me, because it slowed down a lot of things, it actually gave me time to really reflect on the projects and also make decisions, like I mentioned earlier, not to continue with cement, but actually try and find a way to find a different binder. So for me, I think it contributed to a more, how do I say, it allowed me to reflect and make better decisions that I probably wouldn't have made if I would have been in that speed train of getting it onto the market. And
this is a point that comes up quite often when I ask this question, because it's really true. We live in such a fast-paced society that sometimes sometimes the only way we would allow ourselves to slow down is having something from the outside that forces us to slow down.
Exactly. And of course, it's been a very difficult period of time, like for everyone on so many different levels. But I feel like the positive side of it has been that it gave a lot of people a lot of time to reflect.
Yeah, so agree. Next question is again a more general one, because also linked with what we were saying before. The world we live in is in challenging situation, and we need sustainable development in every aspect of our world. So, in your opinion, what could speed up or facilitate the change in the design industry towards more sustainable standards?
Um, I think I think it's a very difficult question
I know.
because it starts with so many different things and variables, like consumerism needs to change, production methods need to change, but everything goes together. Like it's a coherent system.
Yeah.
And so I think the easiest way to answer your question now is to start with yourself and educate yourself, research where things come from. So, for example, if you're looking into buying a new sofa or buying whatever, how is it made? Who made it? Where did it come from? What materials are used? How were the materials sourced? And then make your choice based on the knowledge you have. Don't just buy something. Really research what I mentioned, how it's made, where it's from, educate yourself, and then make your choices.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and then yesterday I saw kind of a quote that also connects to this, which said that, since most of our, it quoted kind of a study or something and said that most of our purchases on a day-to-day basis are not driven by a real need, but kind of a will of, something that we want to purchase rather than we need to purchase. And so there was this big question saying, do you really need it? Which makes sense, because in many ways we are so used to the idea of purchasing something new that it's not necessarily a question that we ask all the time. And I think that it's important to start asking it more frequently.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to help a lot to work more towards conscious consumerism.
Yeah.
And I think conscious consumerism will also lead into conscious production.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is what I also believe, that it can come, because many people say until production method don't change, we are not going anywhere. And that's true, but I also really believe that consumer behavior can make production methods change. And so the individual weight of what we can actually inspire as consumers is really deep. So
yeah, definitely. And I would also motivate you to really shop locally as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially after this period, it's going to make a big difference for local businesses to survive. Okay, so we are almost at the end of our time already. So to wrap things up, maybe you have something to anticipate us about next things that you're working on, something that you've got on the pipeline, what you are, what you're working on for the next months, years.
For now, I'm really focusing on getting the production of the tiles up and going. Also, because we're switching the binder and trying to get that a stable mixture as well.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm definitely focusing on. And another thing that I like to do, because things within bottom ash can get a bit technical, is more free work within ceramics. Okay. And so I play around with, that's my balance. Like,
find a balance.
Play around with that as well. Yeah.
Okay. And so concerning the your commercial, let's say, plans, is this going to be tiles only? You're not planning to put the bench or furniture or a furniture line as well?
Maybe a furniture line as well, but for now we're going to start with the tiles. Yeah. The thing is with when you develop a new material, usually it means that the equipment to make it with isn't available yet either. So that's also another aspect that we need to tackle, is to find the right way of producing it. So it's being produced as a traditional terrazzo now, but because it has a lot of different particles, sometimes you need a slightly different approach to get the right results. So that's also a bit of a, not necessarily a struggle, but an adventure.
Yeah, exactly. An extra complication in the process.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be the main focus for the
Forward. Yeah.
meantime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So, well, thank you so much for your time and for, sharing details about your project, which is so inspiring. Thanks a lot for being with me today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks to you, really. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I will see you in the next episode of Sustainable Innovation for Interiors. And until then, take care. Goodbye. Bye, Carissa.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.